Hey, everybody. Uh, hello. Uh, Happy March 12th. Um, I'm just getting myself set up here. My little, there. What did I want? The dashboard. That's what I wanted. Okay, now I'm set. Sorry. Hello. Happy March. Um, it's been a while. This whole thing of doing these once a month is it feels like a long time since I've seen you. It's just been a month, but that's absence makes the heart grow fonder, as they say. Um, Before we get started on this topic today, which I think is kind of timely, um, uh, if you would please let me know that you're here. That would be awesome. It's always nice to know to whom I am speaking. And and then I also want to encourage you, particularly on this subject, to go ahead and ask questions about this topic. And the topic is, voiceover conferences. Really, are they worth our time, our money, and the effort that it takes to get to a conference? Um, and I know there are always questions circling uh, conferences, and so I just want to address your questions and your concerns and tell you mine, um, and essentially just kind of have a conversation about this. Let me close out my mail. Um, then I also want to say I know that my glasses look weird, um, but I'm trying to block all of the light that I get in front of my computer screens all the time. So I'm trying out different glasses, and these are daytime blue blocker glasses. I have nighttime ones, and they're sort of orange looking, red looking, but these are my daytimers. So I welcome your feedback on my stylishness. Good. Beth, hi Beth. How are you, honey? I haven't seen you in a really long time, and I hope that you're well. Um, how's the weather in Minnesota? I just got back from Los Angeles and a little bit of time in Southern Oregon where all it did was rain, 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 and snow, snow, snow. Who knew you had to come back to Tennessee in the wintertime to get a little sunshine? But that's indeed what I had to do from California, no less, right? It's crazy. It has been too long, Beth. Um, All right. So I want to encourage those of you. Hi, Genevieve. Um, I I want to also encourage those of you who are watching this on the playback that to ask your questions as well, because I always come and revisit, and I try to answer people's questions even if you're not live with me at the moment. And then of course I do want to encourage people who have answers that I may not have to chime in the comment section as well. Um, so VO Atlanta just ended this past weekend. It took place this past weekend in, of course, Atlanta. Um, and I did not go. And that was kind of, that felt, I have to say, that felt really weird. And I think one of the big things um, about conferences, because we see so much going uh, on Facebook. Hello, puppy. On Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all the places, about what a wonderful time people had and how everything they learned and all the people with whom they connected. And some people come back with agents, and other people, got to read in front of casting directors that they customarily don't have access to, and all those kinds of things. And I think that it's really, really easy to feel like you've missed out, on the big event of the year. And hi, Diana. You were at VO Atlanta. Great. I will want to know your perspective. Um, so I want to say that. my customary answer about that is that, that's fear of missing out. Like we've missed out on something that will never happen again, and that we've missed it. And therefore, because we've missed it, somehow we've lost out and we're less than and we'll never make it up. And it's just one big missed opportunity after another. And so I want to say this year, not going, I totally understand that feeling. Like I feel like I missed out, and I feel like, you know, nobody remembers me, and all the things like, and I say that because I think having that feeling is totally normal whenever we're, you know, seeing an event online that we haven't attended. Of course, we feel like all the magic is happening over there, and there's no magic here. There's nothing important or exciting going on inside the four walls of my house. And therefore, and therefore, I am falling behind. So I just want to say that I totally relate to that feeling, and it's just a feeling. It's not the truth. It's not what's factual. Um, and that is the most important thing I think that I can convey to those of us who are having a fear of missing out. Um, and that is not to say that the experiences that people had at VO Atlanta weren't wonderful and good and productive and all of those things, right? They are. Um, and that's one of the reasons why it's fun and good to go to a voiceover conference every once in a while, because you do see people you haven't seen, and you do experience things you haven't experienced, and you do sometimes get in front of casting directors that you might not ordinarily get to be in front of, and you do get to take workshops, and they're all, you know, um, all in a jam-packed weekend, right? All of those things are good. Um, every year brings its unique thing, and there's always something more to look forward to in the years that follow. And so it sort of feeds into um, this idea that every moment is unique, right? But your career is never dependent upon one moment in time, right? It's never, if I miss this thing, then my career will not happen, right? If I miss doing this, if I don't get that agent, my career's over. If I don't get these kinds of auditions, my career is over. If I don't go to this conference or that conference, then I'll never get ahead, right? And all of that's the big fat lie. That's the big fat lie that um, we tend to believe. Sorry, sorry about that. Hang on. My dog she's such a good watchdog. My daughter just came home, and so my dog failed to realize that she actually knew the person at the front door. So that's what happens. Let's see, where was I? Um, so so we all have that feeling that we've missed out, and the idea that if we miss one conference, that we're missing out on the thing that's going to change our career is just not true. It's not true. And so that, I think, is the number one thing that I want to communicate about the importance of voiceover conferences, particularly when you're not going, when you're not attending. Um, it is, and then let me say then, for those of us who do go to conferences now and again, they do offer wonderful opportunity, but it's, by and large, it's learning opportunity, right? It's educational opportunity, and it's opportunity to make community with people, to meet other people who are doing the same thing that you're doing, and to find friends in this very isolated business. Um, and and out of that can come uh, other wonderful opportunities. If you meet up with like-minded people, you can form workout groups. You can form support groups of one kind or another, even just social groups of one kind or another, right? And that is always a great thing. Again, in an industry where we spend so much time alone. Um, so and a few other things that I think are really great about going to voiceover conferences. Yes, you do get the opportunity to sit in on panels of experts, in various genres in voiceover, and that's always really great information to gather. You have the opportunity to take workshops with a lot of people in one place that might otherwise be difficult in person, right? That might otherwise be difficult for you to do. And so that's kind of awesome as well. Most most coaches and teachers are available, online these days. And so that in-person thing is kind of a nice, it's a nice bonus, right? It's a nice bonus to meet people in the flesh. Um, and then there's always hijinks, and fun and games at these things. And depending upon whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, that can be a good thing or it can be a terrifying thing, which sends you to your room, like it does me. Like I'm usually just back in my room. Once my obligations are done, I head back to my room. But uh, so I think that voiceover conferences, again, they are about. Um, I think that what they're really, really good for is exploration and engaging your curiosity about what's out there. Um, and going to a place where a lot of the same folks, go who are engaged in the same thing that you are. And so, in that light, I think they are fantastic to go to. Um, they can't, yeah, they're pricey. Sure. You know, not only do you have the fee, to get in, then um, you've got workshop expenses. Those are usually a little bit less expensive than they would be if you were just booking straight through that particular instructor. So that's a bonus, but still, you book two, three, four of those, it's a lot of money, right? Then it's the hotel for the week, and it's airfare getting there if you don't live in Atlanta. So there are all these things, all these things play a factor in whether or not attending voiceover conferences are worth it to you. And then there's there's a little bit of the flip side of all of that. It's like what are the negatives, right? Are there negatives? Is that the case? And um, sure, there are negatives. I think that particularly when you're new, um, or if you've never been to a voiceover conference before, I think you really have to sleuth and you have to be discerning about what you're hearing and what applies to you and what doesn't apply to you. And so it can be really tempting to take in all the information of every single panelist that you hear and every single um, coach or instructor or agent that you sit and listen to take all of it in as gospel, for you in particular. And so what I do whenever I go anywhere to listen and speak and discern and gather new information is, I put on my sort of reporter hat, and I'm taking notes about whether or not the things that they're talking about apply to me. Uh, if it's LA agents, let's say LA or New York agents talking about demos, okay, well, does that apply to you if you are doing voiceover from a a medium-sized town in Missouri? Does that apply to you? Right? And you have no intention, let's say, um, of expanding your business to the West or the East Coast. And very many people have no such plans intentionally, right? It's not everybody's goal to be in LA and be in the LA market. It's just not. So, should you take the advice from prominent Los Angeles agents about what your demos should be, when you should make a demo, all those things, if your situation doesn't apply, right? Those are the kinds of things you have to go in willing to be discerning about the information that you're about to receive, right? So that's a big thing, and I think it's a big source of confusion for people who are relatively new to the business, right? And there are certainly people there who, at any conference, I'm not picking on VO Atlanta, but at all. I love VO Atlanta, and I've been many times, and it has been a great source of learning for me too. I don't haven't just gone there to teach, but I have learned a lot from going to VO Atlanta. But there are always people who kind of don't know what they're talking about, and they made their way onto a panel. That's just the truth, you know. And I'll illustrate this with somebody who, has had a 35-year career in voiceover in the Los Angeles market as a promo actor, right? A promo actor. That's what he did, and for a long time in the 90s and the 2000s, had a really huge commercial career as well. And a few years ago, he was invited to host a panel or two at Sovas, and he was asked to moderate a panel on dubbing, and he was like, "What? Why am I hosting this panel? I don't know anything about it." He's never dubbed a film in his life, right? And so sometimes things get mismatched, and sometimes people, and he's the first person to say, I don't know anything about this topic. I'm not an expert in this, you know? And so sometimes that happens as well, right? And um, so I think the big point I want to drive home about this is that you really need to be discerning. And if you're really coming in, wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, you don't know where you fit, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're interested in, then you go in with a spirit of curiosity about the various genres, and you keep your ears open and your eyes open, and you gather lots of different opinions and perspectives. And then when you go home, you sift through all that stuff and you ask yourself what applies to me and what doesn't, right? What do I like? What do I not like? What didn't ring true? What scared the dickens out of me? What did I find exhilarating and challenging, and all of those kinds of things. Um, so um, and then there, like any entertainment um, industry event, there's always a sense of hierarchy, and a sense of who are the important people, and a sense of politics, and uh, who are the important people to get near to. And that is not special to any voiceover conference. It's not special to any conference in any industry anywhere. That is the human condition. And people place themselves in positions, and sort of uh, move their way in, and then which causes other people to feel like, oh, perhaps that's an important person that I'm supposed to know. And all those kinds of things that inevitably happen when you gather a lot of people together, where there's information to be had, and when there are products to be sold, and there are products to be sold, and I don't have any. I'm a capitalist, right? I don't have any problem with people selling their stuff, you know. But again, it's one of those things. We have to keep our eyes open, and we have to keep our little hat of discernment. Is that a thing? It is now. The hat of discernment, right? So that you know what you're seeing, right? And you can talk to others about it. You can check in with others and say, how is that? Was that good? Is that a good product? Do you like that? Did it work for you? Um, how is that, coach? Um, was he beneficial to you? How was that feedback for your demo? What, like all the things, like you get to ask questions, um, and uh, and know that all of those typical human things that happen, um, are happening at a voiceover conference as well. They just are, you know. Um, so let me see. I'm gonna just check in here to see if anybody's got some comments about it. Okay. Um, let's see. Interviewed student. Yes. Genevieve, I really enjoyed One Voice and wanted to go to VO Atlanta, but it's so big and could not justify the cost. Yeah. Okay. I totally get that. Let's see. What else is there? Do I have any? I feel like there were other comments I missed. Um, okay. All right. That's it. So, okay. So, in terms of, like, I would say that VO Atlanta is probably the biggest conference. It gathers about 1,000 people, I want to say. Let's see. Discernment, so important. Yes. Um, it gathers about 1,000 people. Good sized conference, right? Um, I think that they have a nice kind of balance of fun things to do and also some free time. And there, again, I want to reiterate, there are a lot of great panels and there are a lot of great workshops. And just remember, everybody that you listen to and you go hear speak and you take lessons from, um, is they're just individual humans with their particular perspectives. And so, including me, if you ever go to my anything I might teach, I'm just an individual person with my perspective. I'm not the, God of anything, and neither is anybody else at any of these conferences, right? So you can learn this technique in this commercial class, and you can go to this other class and learn something completely different in another commercial technique class, and you can go, well, wait, this teacher told me that this is the only way. There's never an only way, right? There are lots of ways to approach a genre of voiceover, and it's up to you to determine, when you get different and disparate pieces of information, to determine what works for you, and again, build your own toolkit as to how you approach whatever it is that you're learning. So I think that J. Michael and Anna do a lovely job as hosts uh, of VO Atlanta. Um, the conditions are not the conditions. The accommodations are nice, um, and they do a lovely job, right? And so they do a lot of planning, and I think they're very good at it, and it's so in that light, it's a very professional, it's a really good conference. And you don't have to go every year. If you're feeling like I have to go because there are these important things to do at conferences, great, that's great, but you don't have to go every year. It's not going to derail your career. Um, you're going to miss out on particular things that happen that particular year, but there are going to be new things to come the following year. Um, that is always the case. I would say the One Voice Conference, which is put on by Gravy for the Brain, which is out of the UK. They do an American conference. They have their One Voice Conference in the UK, and it's actually happening. It happens in the spring, and then the One Voice Conference in the US happens in August. Um, And that's a I love that conference. It's smaller. I would say it's half the size, maybe even a little less than half. I'm gonna see if that's my dog scratching at the door. Um, Come on. Yes, it is indeed my dog. Um, for me, and again, this is just my sensibility. Um, the One Voice conference feels looser to me, and I don't know if it's just because it's a bunch of Brits, putting the thing on, and so but it feels looser to me, which I like. And I don't want to give the impression that VO Atlanta is uptight. It's not in the least. It's not in the least. It's just that, I feel like there's more drinking at the One Voice conference. That might be it. I partake of more tequila at the One Voice conference. Um, uh, I'll tell you, there's a piece of the One Voice conference that I really really love. Which doesn't apply to VO Atlanta at all because VO Atlanta does not have an awards component, except the Unicorn Award and the sort of provider of the year kinds of things, which are really they are they're really just ways in which they honor people in the industry who are providing things and which I think is a lovely, lovely part of VO Atlanta. I truly do. The um, the One Voice conference has an awards component, right? So, I mean, and in that sense, I mean like a voiceover awards where it's like best performance, video game, best commercial, um, voice actor. It's a different title, but like voice actor of the year, that kind of stuff, right? So here's what I love about that piece of this is that it does not cost any actor or anyone to submit to the awards ceremony, to the awards competition. It doesn't cost you to submit. When you submit, your entry is kind of assigned, a number, so your name is not attached to it. Um, the judges don't know who you are. They don't. They will never see your name. I can say that because I've been a judge, right? So you never see the actor's name ever. Um, the actors who've submitted and have been nominated, they don't know who the judges are, right? So there's great anonymity there, which is fantastic. Um, it doesn't cost you to enter. It doesn't cost you to win. It doesn't cost you anything except a ticket to be at the awards dinner, which essentially pays for the dinner. So you're just buying your food. And what happens in that setting is that voice actors who don't have a name very often win and are recognized for the good work that they do. And that to me is like that is the money, baby. I love that so much because what we are there to do is honor the work. And so I love that piece of the One Voice conference and the One Voice Awards. It's always a really fun awards ceremony. Again, I just think Hugh Edwards and Peter Dixon, they just are wonderful people with great senses of humor, and they like J. Michael and Anna, they know how to put on a conference, and so I would say these are the two most prominent conferences. I would say One Voice again is smaller. It's in Dallas usually, um, and honestly, I've gone to the um, I've gone to the One Voice Awards as a host of the awards show, and so I don't know how much the ticket costs to get in. I uh, so I don't know if the cost factor to enter is different than VO Atlanta. I'm not sure. Sorry about my dog, you guys. Okay, you can come or go, but you can't be both. Okay. Oh my God, she drives me crazy. Anyway, um, and then um, again, I want to say that there are a lot of great presenters and a lot of great panels, and it's always a fun venue. Um, and again, I do think that the one voice conference feels a little bit looser, and it may feel that way because it's smaller. That may very well be the thing. I think when you get to a particular size, things need to be a bit more controlled, if you will, realistically and properly. So the, the one voice conference just feels a little, again, a little bit looser, and I personally enjoy that. Okay, I want to hear this. Tracy, I've gone to VOA every year since 2018. Overwhelming aptly described how I felt that first year. There aren't a lot of stars in my eyes, though. I have serious respect for those who've achieved a certain level. Conferences like this just give me the juice to keep going. When you're with a group of people who get what you do, it's really great. But it's the people who make me want to keep going. And I keep thinking I need to do one in the fall. So there's one every 6 months so I don't run out of juice. Well, there you go. I am I am curious, and I appreciate that very much. There is something invigorating about going to a conference. There is. Um, for me, what's invigorating is kind of as you say, right? Um, I'm so happy when I get to meet up with people that I don't regularly see. So that's always just like a spark of happiness for me. I will tell you the very first time I went to VO Atlanta was, I think, 2018, 2017, I think. And I went and Mary Lynn Wisner asked me, she was heading up all the workshop leaders that year. And she asked me if I would do a workshop on promo. And so I did. And I really had this, I confess, I had this sense when I got on the flight, and I had prepped all my stuff, and I had this great sense of, well, I'm going to go and teach people what I know, and won't people be so lucky to have this voice actor who's been in this for 35 years, and I'm teaching you blah 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 blah, and I feel like I learned so much more than what I taught. And what I really learned was there are thousands of voice actors, at least in the room. At the conference, there were hundreds of voice actors that I that had careers that were beyond what I ever imagined, and people who have no interest in Hollywood and who have no interest in moving to LA or New York or Chicago, and they have really flourishing careers that they built on their own with no agents, and they did it through direct marketing, and they did it through pay to play sites, and they knew things I did not know, and they worked in a way that I had never seen before, and it was really impressive. And I came home from that conference with more knowledge than I think I ever, you know dropped inside the door, and so that was the beginning of an expanded way of thinking for me about what the voiceover universe really looks like in the 21st century. Not because I had been sort of sheltered by my own experience, um, my own isolated experience in Los Angeles, right? And that comes with all shiny and with, you know, sparkles on it, but it is nonetheless, it's a bubble, and it's not a realistic bubble for the vast majority of people who do voiceovers. So anyway, to your point, Tracy, it's like there's so much to learn and so much to take in, right? And they can be overwhelming whether the conference is big or small. Um, there's all kinds of stuff to learn, and and you have to carry both of these thoughts together. And it's not the end of the world if you can't go. It's just not. It's not career making or breaking. It's not. Can certain things happen at conferences? Yes. They sure can. It's a little bit like winning the lottery, to be somebody who comes home and goes, "Oh my God, I signed with an agent because I went to VO Atlanta." That's like lottery winning stuff, right? That's not typical. It's just not typical. And that's what you should know. So if you see that kind of stuff and you go, "Oh my God, am I missing my only chance to ever have an agent?" No, you're not. You're not missing that. No, 1,000% no, you're not. So I just want to keep reassuring you in that way. Beth, I've been to VU Atlanta several times, both attendee and instructor. I opted out this year because of life and budget issues. I've learned a lot and have had a great time. Uh, I always leave motivated. The networking is great, but there are drawbacks too. Um, and then, yeah, you're going to, and then elaborate shortly. Yes, I hope that you will. Okay, Susan, thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it. Okay, let's see. Was there anything else? Because I'm talking long. I know that there are other voiceover conferences out there that are actually much smaller. They feel, and I'm so sorry because I don't know the names of them. And if any of you do, please pop them in the comments. I would appreciate it. I don't. It's not that they're not important conferences. It's just that I live in a cave and I don't necessarily know the buzz about all the other conferences. The two big ones I am aware of. I know there's one in LA about that's sort of game centered. I there have there have been conferences. I can't even speak to it, but I do know that there are regional conferences where it's a much smaller gathering, much more intimate gathering, where depending upon if that is your thing, if what you're looking for is closer connection, more intimate connection, those can be valuable as well. I think wherever you have the opportunity to meet up with others who share what you do, where you have an opportunity to share your experiences and learn from each other is a great thing. Um, let's see if there's anything else in here. Um, let's see. Nope, nope, nope. Okay. Uh, so so the big things. Sorry, the door. Um, uh, just to summarize, I think conferences are great, and you can get all kinds of beneficial things out of them, whether it's coaching, um, information about agents and casting directors, um, whether it's reading for agents and casting directors as well. You could get a lot of here's something that is like really a big deal. I think you can get a lot of technical expertise there if you are still learning how to put together your studio and how to use particular pieces of software and how to set up your booth in your closet or what have you. Man, there's a lot of great stuff that happens at conferences on those topics. There are people there to teach you how to use Audition, Adobe Audition and Twisted Wave and like uh, all kinds of stuff, right? So that's a huge benefit, I think. Um, and you have a chance to meet up with like-minded people, to find a sense of community, to laugh and participate and know that you're not alone in the voiceover world, even though we are all alone in our booths. And the flip side of that, I'll say, is to make sure you keep your discernment hat on and that you are making sure that you're taking in information that is pertinent to you and not extraneous stuff that is simply going to confuse you, and that doesn't apply to you. Um, and and a really good way to figure that out is to talk to people, is to make sure that you talk to people and you get their perspectives, from new people, from people who've been in it for a short while, and from people who've been in it for a long while. People who've been in it on the coasts, people who've made their careers with no agents. Um, there's there's all kinds of voice actors out there, and there are all kinds of careers to be had. And that I think is one of the most beautiful things about going to conferences. Um, and that's about it, I think. Um, So ultimately, and this is always my thing, right? Is it worth the time, the money, the effort? It depends. Depends upon what you're after, right? I think to go at least once and to find out, that's worth the expense. That's worth the risk. I do think so. You may then discover that going to one conference a year is enough. You may discover that going every 2 years is enough. You may discover that going once and that's it for the rest of your life is enough. You may discover that. Um, Conferences do not determine your career for you. They don't. You are always in the driver's seat. Um, you are always the one who gets to make the decisions about your career that make the most sense to you and the life you want to have. And conferences are there to help you discern that for yourself. So, wow, I could have just said that in the first 5 minutes and we could all be having lunch right now. But sometimes it takes me thinking before I can sum things up well. So I will leave it at that. If you're watching this on the replay and you've got other questions, again, please feel free to ask them in the comments section. And if you would please, we have that post on Mondays, but you can do it any day of the week. Let me know your questions. Let everybody know your questions. And if you've got answers, please provide. And many times I take the topics for this live from your questions, and so that is a really it's a great way to let me know what it is that you need from me. Okay, so thank you so much for being here. Thank you for indulging me, my long-windedness today. And I'll see you throughout the month in the group, and I'll see you next month. Let me know what you need from me and what you want to hear from me. All right. Hey, Dan, I didn't say hi. Hi, Dan. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all of you being here. All right. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and we will talk soon. Okay. Ciao.